Alright, so I'm going to be showing you two armor builds, and I'm going to be covering some basic customization for lower level players. The armor builds are also geared toward lower level players. However, I'm going to actually show you specific pieces of armor that you may want to use if you are a lower level player. For the weapons, however, I'll just give you a general idea of how to customize and how to determine what your playstyle is and that kind of thing, so you can kind of work out your own personalized weapon. So let's get started with the armor. I'm going to show you two armor builds. One is going to be a heavy armor build, and one is going to be a light armor build. The main difference is the health and the speed. The heavy armor build is going to have pretty low speed and very low stamina, meaning that you can only run for a couple of seconds at a time, and the run is not going to be very fast. And the opposite of that's going to be the light armor, which is basically you can go really, really fast, and you can run for a pretty long time, maybe like 5-6 seconds, which may not seem like much, but it is actually quite a bit. Alright, so let me just show you this is the heavy build right here. This is what it looks like. And so let me show you what it's actually composed of. So we go to equipment and helmet. Alright, so there's two helmets that I would recommend using for your heavy build if you are going for that, and these are all under level 10. The first one is the Prex Hazmat Respirator. It does say it's a light helmet. However, if you can see, it does reduce explosive damage by 16%. It says that right here. So I find that a little bit more beneficial than getting straight up health, because it does protect you from like prox mines and that kind of thing a little bit more than a normal general health, I guess, heavier helmet would. If you just wanted to go for a straight up heavy helmet, you only gain about 6 HP, and that would be this one right here, the Allied R5X Ghost. This is the heaviest helmet you can get under, I think, level 10, if I remember correctly. I guess you can get a few other heavy helmets. This one is a standard helmet. For the most part, the rest are standard, but it is possible to get, I think, a slightly heavier helmet. But I would go with the Prex Chem Hazmat Respirator. There are 3 of them, and you probably want to go with the leftmost one. This one protects you against explosives damage, this one protects you against toxic damage, and this one protects you against incendiary damage. Personally, I feel that the explosive damage reduction is probably the most useful out of the 3. Alright, so let's move on to the chest plate. Alright, so there is basically one chest plate that you should use if you are going to go for a heavy build that is very low level. There's a level 1 chest plate, and it is the Guardian Warmonger L1. It is the second chest plate, and it gives you a bunch of health. I still use this even though I'm level 35, so it is probably one of the better chest plates out there. And finally, let's go to your lower body, which is basically your boots. I'm using the Overmatch Diamondback, and those are level 17. Those are a little bit higher level, so I'm going to show you a few that can be used under level 10. You could either use the Allied LZ Viper, which is what you get by default, or if you wanted something a little heavier, it's not quite level 10 yet. It is level 14 actually, and it's the Armcom Piranhas Z700. These are also pretty heavy. They're not as heavy as the Diamondbacks, but they are slightly lower level, so if you're not quite at the Diamondback level, you can probably try for the Piranhas. Those are pretty good too. Alright, let me just quickly cover one helmet that once you do get high enough level, I would recommend building. By then you would have figured it out. That's probably the one you want. But the Daedalus Slant S2. This is a X2, sorry. This is a very good helmet. This is the one I actually use, and as you can see, it boosts your health by 20 points. It is pretty good, and it also takes up the armor. Run, however, as you can see, does go down, so it's not the best, but it is very good health-wise and armor-wise. Alright, I'm going to move on to the light armor build. Once again, I'd recommend the Prex Hazmat Respirator for the light armor build. I know it is slightly heavier, even though it is considered a light build, but it's really useful, especially since you're going to have generally low health. You probably want to have something that can protect you against running over a prox mine or something like that. When you do get to a higher level, however, you could use the Overmatch Bonebreaker. This right here is the lightest helmet in the game. That's the one I use, and makes you really, really fast. If you need your gotta go fast build, which is basically lowest health you can pretty much achieve, and the highest run speed, this is the one you're going to use. However, this is level 25, so if you want to stay under level 10, you probably want to go with your Prex Hazmat. Alright, in terms of chest plates, the lightest one that's pretty low level is the Allied Ranger LT. It's the third chest plate, and it is very light. As you can see, just that took me down by, what, 24 or 26 health points. So it is very light. This is, again, what I use for the my light build, and I have 156 HP, and I go ridiculously fast. So I'd highly recommend the Allied Ranger LT. And finally, for your boots, you have some very nice low-level boots that can make you go extremely fast. My favorite is the Daedalux R2 Skirmishers. These are very light, lighter than the Daedalux R7 Skirmishers. You want to go with the R2s. They both have 2 gear slots, however, this does give you slightly more health and takes away slightly from your speed. So you probably want to go with the Daedalux R2s. These are extremely good boots. Alright, I'm going to move on to weapon builds now. I'm not going to show you any specific weapon builds. I'm going to just kind of generally go over what each of the different, I guess, statistics over here that they show you on your weapon is, and what you probably want to focus on, and what really shouldn't matter. Alright, so let me start with receivers. If I'm going to go for mostly under level 10, because once you pass level 10 and get to level 15, you kind of start understanding what you want and that kind of stuff. So I'll start over here. I'll start with the AK-470, which apparently is level 1. So there are a couple main automatic receivers that you can go with when you're below level 10. You got the AK-470, the light machine gun. Yep, you got your submachine gun, you got your burst. I'm not going to consider the burst fire a full auto, because that is, I guess, technically a semi-automatic weapon. And then you have your assault rifle. So that submachine gun used to be very good, but they completely removed a bunch of its damage, and because it was pretty OP. So I would not recommend the submachine gun. As you can see, it only has 42. What do you call it? It only has 42 damage, and the fire rate isn't particularly great. Light machine gun, it has a slower rate of fire, but the damage, as you can see, 67, that is really high. So usually what you'll see is there is a trade-off between damage and fire rate. The higher your fire rate, the more bullets basically go out per second, but usually the damage increases as that goes down. Similarly, the AK-470, you can see that the fire rate isn't particularly good, but the damage is rather high. Overall, the assault rifle is probably the main automatic gun that you would want to go with if you're a low-level player. You automatically start out with it because that's the default weapon, so you don't even have to worry about spending your precious GP buying the assault rifle. The damage is pretty good. The fire rate's not bad. The ammo count, okay, so ammo count usually isn't that important, and that can be simply changed by going through the magazines over here. You can see that have quick magazines. For example, this one, you have extended magazines, you have express magazines, you got a bunch of different things, light magazine. The extended magazines give you more bullets, the light magazine increases your run speed, quick magazine takes down the reload time. That would be this one here. So right now my gun takes about 2.05 seconds to reload. And alright, so I'm going to go over the 3 different kinds of spread here. The spread aim, alright, so this is basically when you first fire your gun. You're going to have a little bit of spread. Now, spread is basically the inaccuracy of your bullet. So where you aim, it's generally not going to go perfectly there. It's going to go slightly side to side or slightly up or down. So your spread aim is when you're aiming down your sights, meaning you're holding down right mouse button or you've pressed right mouse button, and you're aiming through your scope. This is the spread that you're going to get there. Your spread hip is basically when you are shooting without aiming down your sights. You're just using the gray crosshair, the light dull gray crosshair that's normally on your screen. This is the spread you're going to get from there. And then spread moving is basically when you're walking and shooting. Generally, spread move doesn't matter because usually, most of the time, you're going to stop and shoot. Spread hip, I've rarely ever hip fired. I know some people do, so that's I guess that varies from player to player, but generally spread aim is what you want to focus on. This is basically what you're going to be shooting your gun through unless you have some sort of a hip fire gun. I'm not quite sure if you would do that, but if you did, spread aim. If you don't, spread aim is exactly what you want. Zoom, that varies from scope to scope. So if you look at your different scopes here, right now I'm using a 2x zoop scope. You could have this one, it's like 3.9. So that just varies. Those are the basic only difference, and the only way to change zoom is your scope. Scope in. Alright, that varies mostly with stock, and the stock is the rear part of your gun here. Let me switch to a different receiver so I can show you the stocks. And that was a horrible choice. Alright, let's go with the submachine gun. Alright, so if you go to stock here, there are different stocks, and what they basically do is they can stabilize your gun, meaning that it reduces your spread. It also changes your recoil, which is basically the amount your gun moves, your crosshair moves when you're shooting. It increases or decreases your run speed, and changes your range. It also affects your scope in time, so if you notice here my scope in went up because I'm using a certain stock. Scope in time generally isn't too important, however, I'd recommend keeping it under 0.15 seconds, or I'd say 0.2 or so. Generally, that feels almost instant when you right-click, it almost instantly goes in. Anything above that, and you can start to feel the time delay between when you click the button and when you can actually see through your scope there. Other than that, those are your basic statistics that you want to focus on. Reload is also important, but that's not the most important thing. And I'll just quickly cover your basic snipers. There's 3 snipers in the game. Actually, I'll go with 4. You have the bolt-action rifle, the combat rifle, the burst-fire rifle, and all the way at the end you have the AMR. AMR is level 35, so unless you want to use Zen for that, it's going to take a long time to get there. I know a lot of people do use Zen because it is an instant kill weapon. If you notice, the damage is 275, and the maximum HP that anybody can have is 250. So no matter where you shoot the person, they're going to be dead. However, the scope in time is always 1 second on here. There's nothing less than that. It's always 1 second no matter what scope you choose. As far as these 3 go here, the burst fire rifle, it's actually quite interesting. It's almost like the combat rifle, which shoots just 1 bullet at a time, so that's a semi-automatic. The burst fire rifle, it shoots 3 bullets at a time, though, and so it's like a, if you've ever played Halo or something, it's kind of like the battle rifle in there. It's a 3-shot bursts. Bolt action rifle here is probably the main one you're gonna want to go with. It is a 1-hit headshot kill. I think it's the only one out of these 3 here that does that. The AMR, it's always an instant kill, so no matter where you hit, that's going to do that, including the head. But the combat rifle does require multiple shots. The burst fire rifle, it's possible to get 1-hit headshot kills. However, it is a lot more difficult than it is with the bolt action rifle. However, the bolt action rifle does have a really slow fire rate, so it's all a trade-off there. Anyway, so let's get started with some basic combat and battle tactics. Alright guys, so for our basic battle tactics, what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually show you some theory first, and then I'm going to show you the tactic in action. So right now what I have is, I guess, a map that I've just kind of made just for the purpose of showing you the first tactic. And the first tactic we're going to do is flanking. So it's the flank. And so over here I have our color key. So the green dot is going to be you. So we're going to start you out over here. And the red dot is going to be your enemy. So let's say your enemy is standing somewhere over here, let's say. When you move, I'm going to be drawing the path that you take in blue. And the path that the enemy takes, if the enemy does move at all, is going to be in cyan. Alright, so let's get started with this. Basically what you do when you flank is, essentially you're going to come up with a showdown between your enemy and yourself. And what you're going to do is, basically you guys would be shooting across at each other this way, and the idea behind this is basically to make it seem to your enemy like you've run away, but you really haven't. You've just gone a different way to go kill the person. So I know a lot of people will just try to stand here and just kind of shoot until they kill the enemy or until they die. But what you can do is, and this works a lot of situations, especially if it's a smaller map where it doesn't take too long to do this, is just run around this way, go around back, and then come over here and shoot your enemy. Just like that. So just go all the way around the map and come in through this doorway and shoot your enemy from behind, and that will kill your enemy. So that is basically a simple example of the flank. Now, let's try this again. Let me just get rid of this blue line. Actually, let me just do it this way. Alright, so let's try this again. Let's change the position of our enemy. So, alright, now your enemy's in a corner. Okay, so what do you do now? So once again, you guys are shooting at each other this way, and now it doesn't look like there's it doesn't look like there's a good way to flank anymore, because you come up this way, the enemy still sees you. You come up this way, the enemy still sees you. So what do? Well, in this case, it's actually time to utilize your gear. So what you're going to do is, after shooting away this way, again, you make it look like you've run away. So let's switch to your blue here. You make it look like you've run away. You're going to run all the way back around here and run inside of here. Now your enemy is going to start shooting at you again. At this point, you're going to throw a grenade. So I'll put a G here for grenade. And then as soon as you throw your grenade, you're going to run around this way again. Now, what the point of the grenade isn't even to damage your enemy, it's more to, I guess, distract him or her. What you're basically going to do is throw your grenade there. It's going to make the enemy kind of freak out there because now there's a grenade there, and they're going to either panic and run or just try to avoid the grenade. And during this whole commotion, you just run back here and shoot, and your enemy dies. So that's basically a simple example of the flank, and now let's move on to a real example in the game. Alright, so our next tactic that we're going to be covering is mine placement, and this pertains to, as long as it's not just mines, you could use stun mines, proximity mines, you could use stun shurikens if you do have those. Basically anything that self-detonates works here. So I'm going to write mine placement up here though, because generally we'll be using mines. Let me put that in a box. Alright. So let's say that you're camping out in here, and this is actually a map section that I've recreated from Seaport. It's behind a truck. Over here, there's like this thin line right here. This is a railing. There's a staircase right here, and there's usually a truck like right about here. These are two railings which you can snipe out on either side. You can see like all the shipping crates and all that from this side here, and there's another room here where where your enemies might be. I'll show you that when we get to the live action clip of this place. So let's say you're fighting 4 enemies. Let's say there's one right here, another one right there, one guy out there, and one guy out here. So this seems like a pretty difficult situation to get yourself out of, right? You got 4 guys. Well, actually, one guy is almost going to kill himself, so that you really don't even have to worry about this guy, and I'll show you how. When you're fighting against, let's say that you're focused on these 3 guys, especially this guy, because he has almost a direct, clean shot on you. You can kind of be tucked away in this corner here without having to worry about either of these guys unless they throw grenades. But this guy's a direct threat. He can see you and you can see him. So you got to take care of this guy first. And after you take care of that guy, you probably want to move to this side since there are 2 guys on this side. But while all this is going on, this guy right here, he has the opportunity to just come around back, straight up here, and kill you while you're focusing over here and over here. So what you need to do to prevent that is place a mine. Now, instead of just placing it on the staircase or something like that, you want to place it somewhere where he can't shoot it if he sees it, and even if he sees it, it's too late for him to do anything about. So an ideal place, let's zoom in here, an ideal place to place that is right here. So let's put an M right here. So that stands for mine. Let's get out of there. Alright. So the point of putting a mine there is now when he comes in, first of all, he can't see the mine because it's kind of hidden away on this little extension of a wall here, which I'll show you when we get to the actual match. And so as soon as he comes in here, he dies. So I'll put a big X there. In the meantime, you would have been working on this guy and these 2 guys right here. So that basically is where you want to place a mine there. There are plenty of other spots in other maps, but the general idea is to keep your mines hidden. Don't just place them randomly on the floor. A really good place to put them actually is behind depots, because generally when someone goes to a depot, they are there for either for a health refill or an ammo refill. But if they are there for a health refill, that means they're low on health. So even if the mine doesn't kill them on their own, their lack of health combined with the damage the mine will do will kill them. So behind depots is an extremely good place to put mines. Alright, so let's go see this tactic in action. Alright guys, I hope this tutorial was useful to you. Just drop a comment in the comments area. Just tell me what you want the next episode to be about. Any other feedback would be appreciated too. Awesome, thanks for watching.